My name is Tony Ortiz, and I am here today to record a submission video or series of videos for the Final Fantasy Randomizer Marathon that's happening in the summertime of 2025. And I am doing it for one of my favorite games. Let me just get the game on the screen there, the Bloodstained Ritual of the Night. And I just wanted to introduce myself real quick, and then I just wanted to provide a quick overview of the game, the community, and all of the options that we have for the submission. So, as I said, my name is Tony Ortiz. I've been playing and watching randomizers for a long time now, probably as far back as I can remember. I was a big fan of speedruns as well, and have been watching the marathon since they were small local events in people's homes, and all the way up through the evolution of now they are big events held in event centers and hotels and so on. Some of the randomizers I play in addition to this one are Final Fantasy IV Free Enterprise, Zelda 3, Pokemon Crystal, and many more. But this one is very special to me, and that's why I wanted to submit it. Not even just for myself, but in terms of for the whole community as well. And I hope that after watching these videos, you can get a better idea of what to expect, and also to keep an open mind to that we do have a lot of runners in the community that would love to be a part of it, and hope that we can make that work. Speaking about our community, we have many runners in North America, but also we have plenty in Europe as well. I believe the world record holder, I know the world record holder for the main category is from Europe, and is also the last tournament champion we had. So we have a very good, diverse group. And we did have a tournament in 2023. We unfortunately did not have a tournament last year in 2024. There was exigent circumstances. Unfortunately, there was a game-breaking bug, which is now fixed in the 1.6 version. As you can see down here, we're on that. That's the version we would play. And the randomizer is available on all platforms: PC, Xbox, PlayStation, both last gen and this gen consoles. I believe also the Switch as well. And you can play with each other across the bounds of your platform, which has helped the community grow and become even more diverse than it would be normally. We would be running the game on PC at the event for ease, and it is easily downloadable through Steam. And most of the other issues that we may run into, such as tech, with crashes, bugs, glitches, and stuff that would have to do with the game, have pretty much been squashed, as this is basically the final version of the game that will be patched out. So that is something that we shouldn't have to worry about very much if we play it on PC. We do want to play it on PC, especially for speed, because PC gives us a lot of options that consoles don't, such as unlocking the frame rate and so on, which makes a lot of tricks easier. However, when we do play across console, PC players will lock themselves down to 60 FPS in the interest of fairness, of course. And we will not use the suspend and reload modes, as they take much longer to load on console, and so on, for if we were to do a race or something like that. So let's talk about the game a little bit. It is a Metroidvania in every sense of that genre. It is the spiritual successor to Castlevania Symphony of the Night, designed by the same lead creative mind. And it is very similar to that game, but it also has a lot of splashes from the other series that was also directed by that same creative lead that were on the Game Boy Advance era of Castlevania. So you will see a lot of similarities with those games as well, up to, but not limited to, the soul system is in this game. They're called shards, and the melee combat much more closely mirrors the portable versions as opposed to the classic PlayStation version. There are some mechanics that cross over, but it's more of a fusion between both games, and you kind of get the best of everything in this game. It follows the same sort of storyline with the same sort of characters, with the fake out mid-boss that can get you the end of the game or game over if you don't follow the scripted sequence, which opens up the last part of the game, where the real final boss lies. Mirrors so pretty closely. The characters also mirror each other very closely. The main character that we would be playing in the run is Miriam. She very much operates like Alucard. She can use all the equipment you find, the items you find. She can upgrade her skills. She can craft new items, do all sorts of stuff like that. Spend money in the shop, buy things. The game also has another character, Zangetsu. He very closely mirrors Richter in Soten. He has all of his crazy fighting game input stuff right from the beginning. You can fly through the whole game, but he also does not use equipment, and things can go wrong, and you can't pause and heal and all that stuff with items and so on. So there are speedruns of the games out there if you want to learn a little bit more about those by many great runners. The game has been run in many marathons before, but I don't believe a randomizer run has ever been done, to my knowledge. So this would be the first. And we have just quickly to mention the glitches that are in the game. We typically will run the game with no major glitches, and that basically means no clipping out of bounds, completely out of bounds, and falling through the floor and going into areas that we wouldn't normally be able to access. There are some minor glitches in the game that can be exploited, but they are all inbounds, and pretty much anybody can use the ones that are allowed. I can teach somebody how to do most of them in about 3 to 5 minutes, and there's only there's not that many. There won't be a lot of clipping through doors or zipping through walls or anything like that. There is 1 or 2 walls that maybe clip through in a run, but it's very easy to explain and quick to understand, and there's not very complicated to execute. So the next point I have written down here is what makes this randomizer unique from other randomizers of the same sort. Well, as you can see, I'm here at the menu screen, and randomizer mode is sitting right here in the game. Now, this is a built-in randomizer to the game at base. You can buy the game on any platform, and you can have access to this right away. You can jump in and start playing. You do not need to download anything from a website or do anything that we normally would do with a lot of other randomizers that are available. Very few games have this built in. I can only think of a few off the top of my head. And some of them are not even necessarily randomizers, but they are like a very specific like randomizer adjacent mode. If you will, like Lufia 2 Age of Cave comes to mind, but also some games like Axiom Verge 1 will have the randomizer built in. So this is a very rare and unique thing. You'd think with the popularity of randomizers, this would be more common these days, but here we are. We love randomizers though, and one of the best parts about having a game have the built-in randomizer mode. It's very easy to get people into it and checking it out because they don't have to be tech savvy or know how to do all these other things, and it doesn't lock out people on console. The randomizer mode, however, though, just to give you both sides of the coin, was not actually intended to be a randomizer mode. Throughout the game's funding period on GoFundMe, where I believe it was, or Kickstarter, or wherever it was funded, the original intention was to make a roguelike mode. And unfortunately, the developers, I believe, at some point in the process, realized that they would not be able to deliver that. So what they wanted to do was deliver something instead to make sure that money that people donated to make another mode into the game was delivered in some way. So they compromised on a randomizer mode. Unfortunately, due to the way that this came about, no one was hired to actually write logic the way that so many randomizers that we use today have very sound logic that will ensure your game is completable and so on and so forth. So there are some safeties in the game that will help us prevent soft locks from happening, but there is no 100% way to prevent that from happening. The reason that we vet seeds ahead of time before any kind of competition or marathon or event like this is because of that. So what would happen is once we were accepted in any way, we would go ahead and have somebody vet up several seeds, and we would look for a few different things that would help us determine the timing. So basically, we could curate a couple different seeds to be a short, a medium, or a long version of either of the 2 modes we usually play, and that may help with scheduling and squeezing us in somewhere where maybe the run would normally be too long, or maybe if time needs to be filled, we could use the longer game mode, and we could grab a seed from a pile of longer vetted seeds. So thankfully, even though this is a little bit of a weird thing that your average person playing the game for the first time might not know and might have to find out the hard way, we have methods in place to ensure that we will not have to deal with this in a marathon and event setting. Okay. There are 2 main categories that we use to play the game. The first one is called Same Type Shuffle, often referred to as STS for short, and the other one is Maximum or Max Chaos, often referred to as MC for short. This one we also do have a co-op option as well. So let me talk about those things here in game and kind of explain exactly what the differences are between the 2. So the first one, STS, is the shorter category. This is going to look to just complete the game normally as you would play through it in the normal storyline, which is beating both the mid-boss and the final boss. I wouldn't pay too much attention to this key items flag here. This is just a way to set the main progression items up. Unfortunately, the way it works, there isn't much choice here. You almost always have to go anywhere for things to be shuffled correctly. And the way that all of us are trained to run this is always going to require us to be here. So this doesn't exactly accurately describe what happens, but you should just basically be setting this to anywhere all the time. The save and warp rooms, for STS, we're going to leave these unchanged. This means that all the save and warp rooms, just like they would be in SOTN, are in their default locations. So this makes traversing and saving and safety a lot more of a easy thing to have down. Enemy drops. The way this works is that an enemy has a drop pool of up to 4 items with a certain percentage. Those things are locked in place and can never be randomized. However, you can move one pool from an enemy to another enemy, and that's what happens with items. Shards, very simple, same thing. Each enemy in the game drops a shard or soul, if you are familiar with the GBA Castlevanias. And basically what mixing these would do would be shuffling them around, in between the enemies that drop those shards. What Chaos does is just turns both of these on at the same time, as this is a one selection menu. This is not something you can choose. So we always will move to Chaos here to randomize both of those things. This item flag here, this is what gives STS its actual name, the type, retain type. What this does is this ensures that the shuffling does not happen in between different categories of things. So there are different color codes for the different types of shards that drop. There are different item types. There's weapons, there's armor, there's helmets, there's accessories. There are different types of items, consumables that heal or regen mana or are used for crafting different gear, and so on. Now, what retain type does is it makes sure that wherever that thing that we're talking about was located, it will only be shuffled amongst the other things of the same type. So a purple shard will only be shuffled to another purple shard dropping enemy. A weapon chest will only be shuffled with the other weapon chests that are in the game, and so on down the line from there. That gives us a little bit more consistency. It lets us skip a lot of things, go to where we need to know, or where we need to go, and we know where something could be, and not waste a lot of time. As you may know from the GBA Vanias, the shards that drop have a percentage. So there will be spots where we need to kill the same enemy over and over again, trying to get its shard to drop so we can get that and use that, whether to farm something more effectively down the line, have a way to kill the boss, or find the shard that's required to beat the game. Next, we have crafting. We're always going to move this to shuffled in both categories. This basically will change the result of what the crafting would make, but it will leave the result of what you need to make a craft happen the same. So for instance, a ring, like a flame ring, may require a ruby and a ring. What it's going to do is it's going to take that slot, it's going to keep ruby and ring as the ingredients, but the result will be a completely different accessory with the same type shuffle flag on. Very similar with shops. The shop will have a random amount of healing items that are not the same as the base game. They will be thrown in. They will have their same price. And then it will go on down the line from there in all the facets of the shop. And quest works very much the same. There is a quest NPC that says, hey, go kill X of these mobs, and then I'll give you this item. The very first one is an accessory, which could be a ring or a belt or a necklace or something like that. If you click this over to shuffled, the result of that will be shuffled within, again, the same type of category that was there. So we could get any ring, necklace, belt, or charm or whatever from that quest. And it will randomize all the quests. The enemies that you have to defeat will remain the same. And a couple other things in the game will always remain the same, such as there's an NPC who you can turn in items to that will give you a specific reward for turning in one item to her. She will always ask you for the same stuff, but the results she will give you will be, again, shuffled within the same type. So if she was going to hand you a piece of armor for the first reward, you would get a random piece of armor. And a lot of these things are viewable. When you check the NPC, you can make mental notes and decide from there. There is one other thing in the game called basically cooking, where all these things will be the same. The recipes do not change in any form of randomizing settings, and it's actually good because they can oftentimes help you beat the game if the shop doesn't have enough healing items in it or something like that. Now, to discuss the differences between the two categories from here to Max Chaos, we're only going to change a couple things. One thing we're going to change is the mixed save and warp room flag here. There are a couple safeties in the game, whether they're intentional or not, we're not sure, but they do exist, and that is the very first warp room that you can get to without any assistance from like a movement ability. That's right by the shop in the little village area where the crafting and the shops and the quests all are. That's always going to stay as a warp room, just to maintain that we don't waste a ton of time trying to get back to the base area of the game, especially if we don't have the warp item available, which is called a waystone in this game, similar to the library card in Soten. Then after that, there is one more warp room that is always the same, and that is the one at the very bottom of the map in between the desert area and the lava area. And I'm not sure why exactly that is the way it is, but if I would have to guess as to why it would be done intentionally, it's because it is in between a very, very set of two long sections where there is no opportunity for a warp room or a save room to be placed at all. And it's just a good thing to have in case you get down to that area and then have to go back. And then the only other thing we're going to change here is we're going to go from retain type into total random. And what that does is it takes all the things I explained to you before about what gets shuffled in its own category, it disregards those categories and sends everything everywhere. Now shards are still going to drop off of enemies, but all the different categories of shards denoted by their color, red, blue, yellow, green, and white, will all be shuffled amongst all of the enemies in the entire game. And the same thing goes with chests, crafting recipe results, and crafting recipe ingredients, which is an interesting characteristic. And then also the same thing with quest rewards and so on. You'll still have to do the same things to complete the quests or the item turn-ins or whatever, but the results will be completely random in this case. And this adds a significant amount of time onto the run. Talking about the timing windows of the runs, a very, very good STS set of luck could get you in under 30 minutes. I think some people have records of around 16, 15 minutes, which is pretty impressive, where everything just falls into place. But also you could get stuck on a very, very long adventure, having to go to every single place in the castle to find what you need, and you could be spending up to an hour and a half, depending on where things are. Max Chaos, it kind of slants a little bit further down, but similar window, just on a slider. You're looking at probably about an hour and a half to almost 3 hours, depending on, again, where the RNG is, and lining up for where stuff is, but then also the RNG of when things are going to drop from enemies that you have to find, which are the shards. So again, we can curate this time a little bit with somebody vetting the seeds, knowing exactly where things are. They can pass those down, and if we need something that needs to be under 2 hours, they'll probably just be able to vet us one up that is a very linear or very easy to complete one, and we can kind of show the game off, and then we can worry about a longer run in some other facet. Or if we are in some kind of bonus scenario, we could potentially have something that's unvetted, where we can even show off some of the soft locks and explain why they happen and so forth. So we can really curate that experience depending on whatever is needed from us to be participating. Okay, and the last little bit here, I just want to talk about some of our people's availability and experience. So I am personally available to be on site. I live about 6 hours away from the location. I can drive in. Although with my work life situation, as mentioned on the form I've filled out as well, depending on what day is needed, I might not be able to make that work just because of available paid time off and so on. But I'm pretty open to either anytime Sunday or Saturday, even in the early AM, as I could come in Friday night and then go from there. I will have to be back home by Monday morning, though, unfortunately, to continue working. So I'm totally flexible for the most part. We can discuss it further. But we have also community members that would be willing to participate, especially if you'd like to see a more experienced runner, one of the higher tier runners. I think if I were to grade myself, I'd probably give myself like a B+, A-. But we definitely have some A++ runners. Definitely, that would like to participate, but they would have to do so remotely. So if you would like to consider some of them, they could definitely probably participate, but it would have to be remotely, again, with some of our people in Europe. That may work out as well for the AM scheduling and time differences and so on, and I would be more than willing to help build that bridge with those other players. In addition to that, I do have several tournament matches of commentary experience. I enjoy doing it very much. I often commentate our weekly or monthly races that we do, and I will definitely be commentating the next tournament matches when we set that up. So if I can help in any way to commentate, I would be more than happy to do that as well. One thing I will say is that we really will need a commentator for this because whether it's remote or live, because with the amount of knowledge that you're going to need to have, especially if we go for the longer run with more intricate stuff happening and way more checks to do, the runner will definitely need to be focused on what's going on in the game. They definitely will be able to chime in, I'm sure, some weird scenarios of downtime where we might be stuck on killing the same mob over and over and farming it for the shard. But when it comes to making decisions, there's going to be a lot of quick thinking that's going to be necessary, and we really want to have a commentator that's going to be able to kind of like explain what's going on while it's happening for everybody. Whether or not that commentator should be patched in with the player or not, I think it probably will be fine if they are. Whoever's playing will definitely have their own style and their own things that they like to go for, or like, you know, if they like to go to this area before they go to that area. There really won't be too much, you know, that's worried about there if we're not in a race scenario here. And oftentimes what another set of eyes can do for you is help us out in a bind where if we're confused and we're like, okay, well, this was vetted, but we're missing something. Another set of eyes that's experienced on the game can definitely key us in and, you know, like say, oh, wait, did we check this? And then, oh, no, we didn't. Go back. So we'll definitely need at least one person that's able to join the commentary team. Hopefully that can be worked out if that can be done as a hybrid where even if I was live, somebody could come in on Discord remotely or some facet of that. So we are, again, just in summation, we are open to a STS run single or a race. We are open to, if you know, we can do hybrid or we can do remote. We're open to the max chaos race or single person playing, or we also have the co-op option where two of us work together to try to get it completed as fast as possible. And we would just want to have one person on commentary to be able to explain everything that's going on. And I think between the two communities we have that act as one, between North America and Europe, we can definitely figure out most things around almost any time slot. It would just have to be coordinating, you know, with whether if I'm going to be there live or not, and then from there, you know, where we go. So thanks for checking this out. I will have 2 videos in a playlist that follow this. I'll have one run that is me playing an STS vetted seed, and I'll have another run which is me playing a max chaos vetted seed, and I will try to explain what I'm doing and commentate while playing as best as I can during those runs to give you an idea of what it would sound like and what it would look like if we were you know, to be accepted. So thank you for your consideration, FFR. Whether or not we make it in, we wish you all the best. I can't wait to watch, even if I'm not going to be participating, and I definitely would still consider coming down just to be a part of it and be a spectator live. So big fan of the Final Fantasy randomizers especially, and you know, hopefully this is something that we can do together, and that we can get more people involved in the Bloodstained Ritual United community, add more people to our racing Discord, and get a tournament going. And who knows, maybe if this works out well, we could even have a tournament final in collaboration live with you guys at some point. That would be my dream, and I want to do whatever we can do to help make that happen. Thank you.